our countdown to Christmas, we're considering how this person Jesus, who Christmas is all about, we're considering how he's influenced us perhaps more than we think. And so how about this today? School. All of us were made to go there. Education today is seen as hugely important. One of the concerns of lockdown over recent months has been the impact it might have on a child's education. Education is important. Jesus had a concern for children. In the Gospels we read of a time when Jesus was angry with his disciples because parents were bringing their children to see him, but the disciples were refusing them access. We read that Jesus rebuked them and he said, "Let the children come to me." The Protestant reformers of the 16th century wanted people to be able to understand the Bible for themselves. They wanted people to be able to assess whether what the church was teaching people was really according to the teaching of Jesus as found in the New Testament. And so it wasn't enough for people to have the Bible in German or English or whatever their language was. People also needed to learn to read for themselves. And so parish schools were established. It was a concern for people to be able to read the words of Jesus for themselves that made Europe a literate continent. What kind of education did Jesus inspire? Well, it was an inclusive education. What happened when Jesus preached? Matthew in his gospel says, "The poor have the good news preached to them." Jesus went to the poor. He went to the marginalised. In Britain in the late 18th century and early 19th century, it was often the rich who could read and write, whilst poor children were set to work. Well, read about a man called Robert Raikes, who established Sunday schools in England, where, at his own expense, boys and girls deprived of a formal education were taught to read and write using the Bible as their textbook. By 1831, 1.25 million British children were attending Sunday schools, about 25% of Britain's children at the time. Jesus didn't just go to the poor. He also went to the sick. You read the Gospels and you find he went to the sick, the lame, the blind, the deaf. He went to the disadvantaged. In the ancient Greco-Roman world, blind boys were used as galley slaves. Blind girls were used as prostitutes. By the 16th century, however, following the example of Jesus, who had sought out the disadvantaged, Christians were teaching the blind to read, using raised letters on wax or wood. Find out about Louis Braille, who of course invented the Braille system of reading for the blind. Who was he? He was a blind church organist. Following the example of Jesus, it was Christians who sought to restore dignity to the handicapped. Once again, the impact of Jesus.